Hello everyone, welcome to Veranda IAS. We are back in the series with a new session dealing with the previous year question paper analysis of mains. Earlier we have seen the question paper analysis for prelims. We have done it in detail. We will continue from there and we'll do the question paper analysis from mains point of view. So we'll be dealing with the help of few questions that how you have to approach the mains syllabus. First of all, when we are going to write mains, we have already talked about this. What is important is art of answer writing. Why all the time I emphasis on this word art of answer writing? Because it is different and it can be acquired, this skill can be acquired over the period of the time only. So basically why it is very different, I'll tell you what should be your approach while writing an answer, and we will deal with some questions. I'll tell you what all points you can include in those answers. Basically, when we are writing answer to any question, first and foremost step is to read the question. And read the question along with a pen in your hand. Why I am saying this? Look, for example, this is a question. The Supreme Court of India keeps a check on the arbitrary power of the Parliament in amending the Constitution. Discuss critically. Asked in GS Paper 2, 2013. When we are reading this question, we have to highlight some words, underline some words so that we can get the keywords for our answer. The Supreme Court of India keeps a check on the arbitrary power of the Parliament in amending the Constitution. Very important, discuss critically. UPSC uses some words like critically, evaluate, discuss critically, give a critical evaluation, or simple give an evaluation. All these type of words are the basis of your answer. You have to frame your answer on the basis of these words. It is written, discuss critically. What does it mean? You have to criticize this power. You have no other choice. Like you have to criticize this statement, give cons of this statement, or give the negative dimensions of this statement. For example, we are writing any answer. We'll go back. So when we are writing answer to any question asked, we have two approaches. First one is paragraph wise and second one is point wise. So your answer might vary between these two. That is okay. Even if we are making paragraphs, we need to ensure that paragraphs should be small, catchy, and not very lengthy statements we should use. Why so? Why I am saying this? Because examiner has no interest in reading and then calculating and then interpreting your lengthy statements and your answer writing or the writing skills. The examiner has to check on your knowledge. To check your knowledge, what he will do? He will try to find out the keywords, the catchy words, the underlined lines, the short point forms, and then only he'll be he'll check the copy and give you more marks. So basically the first part, the introduction, the answer is divided in three parts. Introduction, then body of the answer, and then conclusion. So when we are talking about these three things, our introduction and our conclusion matters most. First of all, if we know the content of the answer, it will be easier for us to write the answer. And if not, then it is like we are making stories, wasting our time, examiner's time, and we won't be able to fetch marks. Yeah, but if you are in a situation that you know nothing about the answer and you have to write some or other thing, then you should write some or other thing relatable to the topic. Why I am saying this? Because it will at least fetch you 1 or 2 or 3 marks instead of leaving the question. But the moreover approach should be the questions which are asked, like 50-60% of the questions you will be able to easily solve, easily attempt when you are going through the syllabus in a good manner, in a strategic manner. So if you are covering the whole syllabus, at least 50-60% of the questions are like, in one reading you will be like, I know this, I know this. In second reading, you might have to think something on some questions, might lack some or other points and can write also. there might be questions, there are chances, high chances, every year aspirants face this. 1 or 2 questions in every paper are like difficult for them to crack. For that, they can use this approach that they can write anything instead of not writing anything. Also, the time given in the paper to you is very calculative. You have only 7 minutes for one answer. So you don't have time to think and to analyze and then to write. Quickly, the points should be on your mind. When this will be a part of your practice, when only you will practice this multiple times before your exam, before appearing in the actual exam. Also, when we are writing, what we have to do, first and foremost, the first half page of the notebook, you have to make a map. Map or mind map or flow chart. Like for example, we are talking about this question which was asked, which we discussed now, the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court of India keeps a check on the arbitrary power of the Parliament in amending the Constitution. So you have to do what you have to do. You have to first quickly in a minute or maybe 30 seconds what you have to do. You have to think what will be the format of your answer. Like you will be discussing about the arbitrary power of the Parliament. Then you have to discuss about the Supreme Court and its role, judicial review, judicial activism and judicial outreach. What will be the constituents of the body of the answer and how you will conclude it. Another point which you have to keep in mind is introduction should be of 1 or 2 statements, should be very catchy, keywords, selected keywords. This gives the whole impression of your answer, how you are going to write ahead. Second, body. Body you can write in paragraph format or in point format. That is up to you or as per the demand of the question. But I told you paragraphs should not have lengthy sentences. And if we are writing it in point format, what will be our approach? Our approach will be to cover important points in point format, but covering the content as well. The content in both the formats will be, generally the questions are asked in which you have to give the pros, the cons, and then a good, what we can say is better option, a solution, a hope, a ray of hope you have to show to the examiner. That will reflect your positive personality. Once you are selected, you will be an administrator. What solutions do you have? Everyone has problems. You need to have solutions. This only will fetch you more marks. So basically, you have to focus on pros, on cons, and then a conclusion. Pros and cons should not be like you are writing only pros in one statement in cons. A balanced approach is required. And also conclusion should also be positive. A very positive and good and decent simple conclusion you have to give. Again, the keywords and simple sentences you have to use. Now in questions in which words like critically are used, these questions require a more part of cons. The question's demand is you have to critically evaluate this statement. You have to give cons of this statement. So if critically evaluate, discuss critically, and these type of words are used which are negative in nature, you have to give the cons. It is very mandatory for you. And if not, always there are two coins of a side. There are pros and cons to every system, every scheme, and there is always a scope of betterment, a scope of improvement. So we have to analyze that. Apart from that, your knowledge is also being checked. So it will be better, it is good in polity if you start your answers with the help of articles. If you remember some articles, this is where your mugging up will help you. If you are mugging up some articles related to any of the provision which is in news, you can start your answer with article. For example, we can say Article 142 of Indian Constitution deals with the judicial review power of the Supreme Court. A very good catchy line about the introduction of this question. If you are giving this statement in the introduction, examiner will be like, yeah, we can read the answer ahead. The student has some knowledge. So basically, articles and keywords which are given in the preamble, the keywords which are given in your syllabus should make your introduction. And then for conclusion, you can do either in introduction or in conclusion, you can use the article numbers and some of the statements from the preamble, some of the statements from fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSPs, or some of the statements being asked in UPSC only. Like for example, some essay question has discussion of any of the political theory or political polities topic. You can take that statement, some quote you can use, All this will fetch you more marks. Answer writing everyone practices. Whosoever goes to mains writes answer, a lot of answers, and completes the paper. What differentiates your performance is this: quotes, and then number of articles, not number of articles, but the quality and the connectivity you establish with the articles, the special provisions which you are using, and also the flowcharts and diagrams. It is irrelevant to include flowcharts and diagrams in each and every answer wherever necessary. Please include. Don't ignore flowcharts. Also make it easier for examiner to understand and to evaluate your answer. We'll look this question. The Supreme Court of India keeps a check on the arbitrary power of the Parliament in amending the Constitution. Discuss critically. So what will be our approach? When you will complete the syllabus, you will be able to draft a good answer for this. Our approach will be focus on the word critically, give a decent 2-line introduction, and then what you have to do? You have to give the pros, the cons, and then conclude it with a decent positive conclusion. This will be our approach in this. We are not going deep into the subject, because for that you need to complete the subject at first, then only we can solve the mains questions. Next question is, the concept of cooperative federalism has been increasingly emphasized in recent years. First statement they have given. Now what they are asking? Highlight the drawbacks. Remember this word. Highlight the drawbacks in the existing structure and the extent to which cooperative federalism would answer the shortcomings. Okay. So basically it is asking you, look at the background of this question. It was asked in 2015 GS paper 2. 2015 GS paper 2 was the time when Niti Aayog was formed. Planning Commission was overruled. Planning Commission got diminished, disappeared, and Niti Aayog came as a new think tank in place of Planning Commission. So when Niti Aayog came, what was mentioned time and again by the politicians of that time, by the government, that Niti Aayog, what is the concept of bringing Niti Aayog? It is the concept of ensuring, strengthening cooperative federalism. You got your introduction. Niti Aayog, established in 2015, aims at strengthening the concept of cooperative federalism. Okay, that is why this question was asked. Current affairs are always linked. Then it is asking you to highlight the drawbacks of the system which existed before this. That is why they are asking that drawbacks in the existing structure and the extent to which cooperative federalism would answer the shortcomings. They directly have asked you to tell what are the pros of establishing Niti Aayog. That is why they have asked, like, cooperative federalism, how can cooperative federalism cooperative federalism address the shortcomings in the existing structure. So you have to give a brief content about the drawbacks in the existing structure, and then you have to give details about the Niti Aayog, Niti Aayog's features of Niti Aayog, and some of the relevant points about like how Niti Aayog can change these, address these shortcomings, and a decent 1-line conclusion. This is how you have to approach this question. Next is, what is quasi-judicial body? Explain with the help of concrete examples. Simple question, 2016 it was asked. First of all, you have to give the definition. What is quasi-judicial body? What is a quasi-judicial body? A body which is not actually a court but has some judicial functions. All the tribunals which are being formed act as quasi-judicial body. Even not only tribunals, apart from tribunals, we have Parliament even working in the sphere of working as a quasi-judicial body when it is dealing with the impeachment of the President of India. So even Parliament becomes a quasi-judicial body at that time. So you have to understand the concept of quasi-judicial body, give a decent introduction, what are quasi-judicial bodies, give some examples like how quasi-judicial bodies are helping in improving the system, are helping in reducing the burden on the judiciary, and how helping the principles of the philosophy of the Indian Constitution, and then you have to give a decent conclusion. Need not to give cons in this. Okay, you can give one statement if you want, but it is not asked. It is just simply you have to explain. This is a question which checks your knowledge. It has nothing to do like pros and cons, less to do with analytical ability. It has to do with your knowledge. Just tell simply about quasi-judicial bodies, give concrete examples, give a decent and very relevant, short, conclusion and your answer is done. So this was all for today's session. We will take 3 more questions in another session. Till then, stay tuned, keep studying. Thank you so much.